Welcome to the Early Edge UFC 319 preview show brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I'm Danny Brasco, and I am here with Claudia Bellofatto to break down an incredible pay-per-view card. Maybe not pay-per-view anymore, Claudia, because a huge deal's been done with CBS, Paramount, and the UFC coming over to this family here, the SportsLine Early Edge family. Couldn't be more excited. And the pay-per-view model is gone. So hopefully you're seeing a lot cheaper costs for UFC fans and no more pay-per-views, no more $80 a card, Claudia. And hopefully a lot more of us in the mix covering these cards and breaking them down. I couldn't be more excited for this one. How you feeling?
Man, I'm so excited. This is such a good card. It's out there in Chicago, too. I mean, we see the audience for UFC grow every year, but I think the addition of it being in a place like Chicago and having this big buyout that our company did, which is super exciting, is going to make it that many more eyes on what's supposed to be a really good card and moving forward, a lot of good matchups. But some good spots here when it comes to value. Some of the past plays we talked about were so chalky, but I actually had trouble trying to decide which dog I like. So it should be a good show, Danny.
It's a tight card, a lot of really good matchups. And yeah, in terms of the deal with Paramount, I got to just say, I couldn't be more honored to represent what I feel is the most dynamic sport on planet Earth and have that be at our home now. So super awesome and fantastic card. You're absolutely right. I was poring over these matchups and racking my brain. I got to delve into it right away with you, Claudia. Let's start on the prelims. We got a 15-fight card. The Ultimate Fighter finales will play out. We're still waiting for odds to come out on sportsbooks there. But we got to kick it off in some fighters that we know on the early prelims. So, Claudia, what's your first play?
Yeah, I'm looking at the lightweight battle between Chase Hooper and Alexander Hernandez. I'm actually going with the market that's alt method of victory double chance. I did this for a few of the plays today. If we go Chase Hooper to win by submission or Alexander Hernandez to win by decision, you can get that at minus 115. So you can call it a soft play. I'm not picking one guy one way or another, but it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. And you're taking Hooper, who's a heavy favorite. You're bringing that juice way down. And the big storyline around him, Danny, right, is that he's been improving his striking, but we know he wants to get down on that mat as soon as possible. The one edge, though, I'm finding with Hernandez, the reason I didn't just go Hooper straight up, is Hernandez is tough to get down. He has a 71% takedown defense. And on the flip side, he's effective getting guys down. He landed 4 takedowns on 5 attempts against Kurt Halibo in his last fight. His career share of total ground time in control at 65%. Now, he will, of course, you always have to limit mistakes, but specifically in this matchup, he's going to have to limit mistakes when he goes down because Hooper will definitely make him pay. But I think he will make this fight a lot more difficult for Hooper than this line implies. He also sort of has that spastic, sporadic approach on his feet with lots of blitzes constantly moving forward, which I do think hurts his gas tank a bit, but it could also work to his benefit since Hooper is still evolving on his feet. So I think that gives him a slight edge. Overall, Hernandez does have the power. He does have the speed. He has the skilled wrestling. So either Hooper finishes him the way that he always does, the way that he has in 3 of his last 4 wins by submission, or Hernandez tires him out. And I think, if anything, he's going to impress the judges on his feet and win by decision, which he has done in his last 3 wins. So again, we're going with the alt market and 2 different outcomes with the 2 different guys.
I like the way you're attacking this. You called it a soft play, but you're getting minus 115 on what I feel are the 2 most likely outcomes in the fight on either side, right? And you're absolutely right. For Hernandez, he's dangerous. He's a power puncher for the division. He's physical with his wrestling. I feel that wrestling with Hooper would be a big mistake because I just feel like he's eventually going to get reversed in the scrambles. And if Hooper gets a body triangle on him, he's hunting rear naked chokes. I think, it's imminent for Hernandez. So I agree with you. It's a Hooper sub. It's a Hernandez grind out decision. I see it the same way you do. I like the play for sure. My favorite prelim play, and I got to get your take on this one, Claudia. It's Edson Jr. Barbosa going up to lightweight here at 155. And I love the move for him as an aging veteran who's fighting Drakkar Klose in this one. Drakkar Klose is a powerful, athletic wrestler, boxer type of guy who can slam his opponents down, really implement that, that physique and his willpower. I don't think he's doing that against 155 Barbosa. He's not fading away, even at 39 years old. He's going 5 rounds with some of the best fighters in the featherweight division, albeit not winning against guys like Lerone Murphy and those type of top tier guys at 145. But I think he'll have more power and durability at 155. The cardio's still there. And I just see him stinging a nasty shot, maybe an uppercut or a switch kick to the body on close, who's a guy that's been susceptible to damage. You know, you look at his last fight, he was violently finished by Joel Alvarez, a very, very good finisher, but he got wobbled bad with a jab. And I recall he had a fight with Jeremy Stevens booked, and at the weigh-ins, Stevens pushed him. He like tweaked his neck. He had to have neck surgery. That fight was canceled. He's kind of a weird guy, ends up being inactive for that reason. So you look at the old man Barbosa, well, Close is no spring chicken either. He's close to his age. And Barbosa's just way more active, and I think will be powerful at lightweight here, 155. So give me Barbosa to show that there's plenty left in the tank and him to piece up Drakkar Close. Minus 135, I think, is a really good price. So I like Edson Barbosa, who's, Claudia, known as one of the best kickers in UFC history.
Yeah, he has those kicks. It's funny because I was looking at this line. I was going to go the opposite way, which this card does to you because there aren't such heavy favorites across the board. We're not seeing the crazy shock. You're like, so the odds makers think this might go either way. And I thought there might be some value with Close because I was thinking more so the edge factor, you know, the move up in weight, the months of layoffs that Barbosa had. But you're right. The skills are all there. They're really not that much difference in age between the two. So I like where you go. And I stayed off of it once I saw you were on Barbosa.
Okay, good. I like to hear it. I did agree. It was like closer than I expected. Closer than a haha. But, you know, he's a solid fighter. I just don't think he's on Barbosa's level. And I love the move up for aging veterans that want to keep that durability, to keep going. Move up in weight. Stop draining yourself and cutting so much. So I like the move there. All right, onward we march, Claudia. A couple of favorite prelim bets. What about our favorite prop bets on the night? What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to this flyweight battle between Tim Elliott and Kai Asakura. I'm going to go not to go the distance at minus 125. I feel like this is a really good number for how this fight should go. Tim Elliott, we know, wants to push the pace. He wants to show a lot of movement. He wants to get those takedowns, which is where his edge is because he's a great grappler, 47% takedown accuracy. He's one of the best, tell me if I'm wrong, but the way I look at it, that Asakura has faced when it comes to the ground game. So I think that could be the final result if it goes that way. The issue for Elliott, though, on the other side, is that his defense has been kind of sloppy. And now you add on the fact, if we're talking age, you know, he is 38 years old. He had a 1.5-year layoff. It's a tough weight class to have both of those factors in. And Asakura knows all of this, Danny. He said he's been watching Elliott's tapes. He's been analyzing his moves. And he says, if Elliott comes in here with that hands down approach, I'm going to knock him out. And we know he has that ability. He's quick on his feet. He has the power in his hands, but also has those explosive knees and kicks. Most importantly, though, it's that he hits hard. And we saw that against Pantoja. Issue is Pantoja's chin is made of straight cement, so it didn't really matter, but the shots looked good. The timing looked good there. So I think that was a positive. Now, defensively, I think Asakura does struggle at times on his feet and when he's down on the mat, but he has that finishing ability with his power. If he gets it done, it has to be early. His last 3 all ended early. The 2 wins by knockout, the 1 loss by submission. Elliott hasn't been knocked out in years. That could be the end result here, but whichever way it does go, I think the safest play is to say that it does not go the distance.
I'm with you, Claudia. The way I'm seeing this fight in my mind's eye is a Kai Asakura knee up the middle that blasts Elliott into oblivion. Maybe as he's shooting the takedown. You're right. He's got this unorthodox kind of herky-jerky striking style. Mix it up a little bit, move around. A lot of that's trickeration to set up the grappling. And Pantoja was just not, on a completely different level. Asakura coming in from Ryzen, they said, are you championship level? Let's have you face Pantoja in your UFC debut. Yeah, get out of my face, said Pantoja. But it looks like a bounce back spot, right? You feed him to the wolves, not quite there. Now Tim Elliott, veteran, savvy, good grappler. I think Asakura is going to be able to put hands on him, put knees on him, and put him away. So I'm with you. I like the knockout there. I don't see this one going the distance. Yeah, other side is that Elliott maybe laces up like an arm triangle and exposes his grappling defense. So you got both sides there. I like it. All right, guys. My favorite prop bet is a fight that I'm going to attack in multiple ways. I like Nursultan Ruziboev and Brian Battle to go the distance in their fight on the prelims. I see this as a really close fight. This is at 185 pounds, and Brian Battle was a welterweight who just could not make the weight. Multiple times he missed it, and that was to his advantage a lot of the time. He tries to be the weight bully at 170. I don't know if he can be a weight bully at 185 against an experienced guy like Ruziboev, who's 36 9 at just 31 years old. He has a ton of pro experience. He hasn't been stopped since 2016. Brian Battle hasn't been stopped in the second fight of his career. So I think both guys have the toughness and cardio to go the whole way. And I see this as a really close, kind of clinch-heavy, grinding fight. Battle wants to muck it up. He wants to make it dirty. He wants to get you up against the cage, dirty box, wear on you. Again, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that to Ruziboev, who's the naturally bigger middleweight. The guy is a skyscraper at 185. And his only UFC loss is to Joaquin Buckley, top-ranked welterweight. And he fought him at 170. I have no idea how the guy made 170 pounds. It's like 10 pounds heavier than me, and he's a foot taller than me. So that's insane. But he doesn't belong at welterweight. He's back at middleweight. And I think he can crack him with some of those right hands, some of that swift movement on the outside that make him look a little better aesthetically to the judges, and have this fight go the whole way. I'll have more on this fight later on for one of my plays. But Claudia, I think it goes long and an ugly one on the prelims here.
Yeah, gas tanks are there for sure for both guys. I like it.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, we got some more picks to get to. It's time to get some plus money, put them together, I believe, and get some parlays, our favorite UFC 319 parlays. Some simple little two-piece, and I like the way we're attacking it, Claudia. Nothing too complex. So what's your favorite parlay?
Yeah, again, I'm going to call myself soft a lot here because I probably could have gone crazier, added on a few legs, but instead I'm just going with the parlay market. And that's okay because we're still getting a little bit of plus money at plus 110. I'm going to go with this middleweight bout, Michal Hasar-Oleksiejczuk against Gerald GM3 Mearshart. And those names are not fun to say many times, so I'm going to use their nicknames. This is another classic striker grappler matchup. And the books are basically saying there is no shot this goes the distance. The no is lined at minus 380, so we can get some decent value if we go with the heavy favorite in Hasar to win and go under 1.5 rounds at plus 110. All but 2 of his last 8 fights finished in round 1. All of his last 5 wins have come by knockout. He has a superior accuracy. He's landing 51% of his significant strike attempts. That comes out to 5.27 significant strikes per minute. Not a good recipe for GM3, who has loose defense. Chin can't really take it like he used to as he gets older. He is 7 years older than his opponent in this one. And he does have the big edge when it comes to grappling, but he won't have the chance to do that, Danny, and win on the mat if he's knocked out before the second, which I do think is a good possibility. The odds clearly show that as well. So we'll go with Michal to win in under 1.5 rounds for a little bit of plus money.
I like it. I think Oleksiejczuk is the rightful favorite for sure. You mentioned GM3's tricky grappling, right? He's so many pro wins by submission. He's nasty on the floor, but I don't think it gets to the floor. Oleksiejczuk, so tricky with the hand feinting. He's an explosive southpaw striker, and he's trading with the fighting nerds now. He got rear naked choked by Kyle Baralho, the captain of the nerds. And Kyle said, "Come on over, man. Let's up your game."
He's like, okay.
Absolutely ran to Brazil as fast as he could. He looks like the best version of himself now. So I think even if he is threatened with grappling, maybe the nerds taught him a thing or two how to defend there, and he ends up putting hands on GM3. Yeah. I see a nasty combination putting him away. So I like it for sure. Oleksiejczuk KO and under 1.5. Claudia's got there. Oleksiejczuk money line. Fight goes pretty short, minus 110 there. I'm going to go with the spread parlay for my 2-legger. And I like these spread markets because you're betting on a guy to either win a round or win all the rounds. And I talked about Nursultan Ruziboev and Brian Battle already. I might bet fight ends by split decision at plus 550. Both guys can fight a little dirty at times. I've seen eye pokes and fence grabs out of both of them. Don't be surprised if there's a point deduction there. So I don't know. Out crazy prediction. Fight ends by split draw there. So plus 3.5, which implies that Ruziboev at least wins 1 round on the combined judges' scorecards, would cover that leg. And we talked about Kai Asakura. I think it's a knee that just absolutely blasts Elliott and puts him away and covers the minus 3.5. You don't need the judges when you finish your fighter. And I think this is a bounce back spot for Asakura. So all day, you get plus 200 on that. A dominant spread and a competitive spread. There you have it, Claudia. All right. Well, speaking of plus money, we got to get to some underdogs. But first, you can add even more plus money when you use your MMA boost on BetMGM. Use it this weekend if you're a BetMGM account holder. All you need to do is make a UFC 319 bet this weekend and activate the boost. If your bet hits, you get extra winnings only at BetMGM. Lock it in, guys, because we got some dogs to cover now. Boost them up. Claudia, who might you be boosting as a dog this weekend?
Going with the ladies in the flyweight, Dione Barbosa at plus 180 against Karine Silva. And I know Karine Silva is the favorite here for a reason. She's very talented. She is coming off a unanimous decision loss, though, to Araujo, breaking that 9-fight win streak. Before that streak started, she lost in a unanimous decision to Barbosa in 2019. And I do think, Danny, that we're going to see that same result in this matchup. I know Silva's better on her feet. She has the speed. She has the edge with striking. But in that loss to Araujo, she looked gassed. She spent a lot of that third round catching her breath on her back. I think Barbosa's going to go for that same sort of approach. She's going to try and force her into that corner and get her on her back and tire her out. She has solid striking, but she has that above average grappling. So I think she's going to try to expose Silva's cardio a bit. She's going to try to get her down, get that top control, and win this thing. And we can look at that last fight. Araujo went 3 for 3 on takedown attempts against Silva. I think Barbosa is going to take advantage of her own takedown ability, tire her out, win by submission or decision, which she's done in all but one of her last 11 fights. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the dog here. Plus 180 feels like a great price on Barbosa.
Very interesting. It could come down to who's able to get top position because, like you said, these dominant grapplers, sometimes when you're forced to play off your back, you're not so dominant anymore. I wonder if we see Corinne Silva shoot for some of those nasty knee bars that she's known for. Watch out for some limbs to be torn, some dangerous moments here. But I do see this as a close fight. So you're on the dog Barbosa there. Man, we got to go towards the main card now. We've talked a lot about some good prelim matchups, but there are some big ticket fights. And I'm talking about a middleweight bout. Show me Jared, the killer gorilla Cannonier at plus 165. And I think he finds a way to corner Michael Venom Page and get hands on him. That's going to be damn tough to do. Michael Venom Page is one of the most elusive, tricky movers in the UFC. He puts you in the matrix with his footwork, his in and out game. He's darting. He's rangy. He's a snake charmer. He plays that bull versus matador game, sets you up and puts you in the positions he wants. And then he's 10 miles away from you when you try to return fire. I think, though, Cannonier is being slept on because, again, this fight's up at middleweight. MVP has done a lot of his best work at 170. In Bellator, he was a king. He has some of the best highlight tape you'll ever see. But he fought Shara Magomedov in the last fight in the UFC at 185. He looked damn good. I think the word's out on Shara Bullet that he's not the superstar we might have thought. I mean, Marc-Andre Barrial broke his nose in the last fight. So I'm not as impressed as I was initially with that. And I think he sees a guy in Cannonier here who's seen it all himself. He's been fighting the killers of the middleweight division his entire career. You look at some of his last fights, although not all of them have gone well. I mean, Adesanya, Imavov, Baralho, Strickland. He's fighting the old champions and the new up-and-comers. And he's competitive with all of them. He's shown incredible toughness in that comeback win against Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. His 5-round cardio is still there. And that's my thing, Claudia. He's been in a lot of 5-rounders. I need him to sprint on MVP. I need him to go corner him, use that MMA lab footwork to cut off the cage and make his power count. Because otherwise, I'm worried he's just going to get stuck and moved on. Sticked in, I don't know how to say, what tense to say that in. I'm worried that MVP could put him in.
He will get stuck and moved on, yeah.
Stuck and moved. But in any case, look, if MVP does his thing and dances on him for 3 rounds, then you could take my money. I just feel like the line's wide for such an experienced and dangerous guy like Cannonier at 185. Any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say you're right with the resume, too. A lot of people make the mistake of looking at as wins and losses, but you have to actually watch the fights and watch all the rounds, see how deep he does go. And he has had the gas tank, but I think you're right. In order to win this one, you can't let it go the full distance. But I like it for sure. A little bit of plus money there on a guy that maybe is being undervalued a bit on this card.
Yeah, you look at the money line too, that price tag on the implied probability, that's about 38%. But then the spread market plus 3.5 is minus 165. That's closer to 70%. So odds makers saying he might win a round at that probability, but but he's much less likely to win the fight. Maybe it's closer than we see. So I look at those discrepancies in the market and the spread and money line, and sometimes that's a little bit indicative. We shall see. All right, Claudia, it's time for the co-main event of the evening, and we got a big narrative on the line here. Are the Bellator PFL guys ever going to break through and show that they're UFC level, that they're up to snuff? We have Aaron Pico looking to do that against Lerone Murphy. How are you going to play this fight?
Everyone's so scared to go with that narrative, too, because it hasn't been working out for bettors. So I'm actually going to stay away from the side here, Danny. I'm just going to say that the method of victory, whichever way that it does go, is going to be a decision. And it's juiced. It's minus 180. But as we know, with UFC, it's okay to drink that juice if you like the play. And I do here. early in his career, Murphy went for the knockout, and he did it often successfully. 7 of his first 11 came by KO, TKO. So we know he has that finishing ability, but he's changed his approach a lot. He's mixed in that grappling. He's gotten a lot better at it. He's a lot more patient. He's a lot more calculated. And he's had a decent amount of takedowns over his last few fights, but he didn't really capitalize on them, I should say. All of his last 5 wins have come by decision. So I see this decision if it goes his way. Pico, as you said, making his debut, only loss coming from injury, 9-1 over his last 10. And he has a good resume when it comes to both wrestling and boxing. He has those Olympic trials in his past for the USA wrestling team. We should expect him to show off that ability on the ground, but also as a boxer, he has that proven knockout ability. So he really has all the tools. I do have a slight lean to him there, but also because when it comes to being on their feet too, I think changing levels is a little bit of an issue for Murphy. So I'd give the slight edge to the opposite side there as well. The one concern is the layoffs. And I'm curious how you approach guys, because I've mentioned the layoffs a little bit here, but that is one of the storylines around Pico. He took 18 months off. He hasn't seen the same sort of competition that Murphy has seen. He takes a lot of risks too, which I assume he's going to try to avoid here in order to go the full round. So whichever way that it does go, I think that it ends in a decision. And because I'm soft, I'm not picking a side. I'm just going to pick a
method. All right. Honestly, though, I do see this as a really competitive fight, and it's really difficult to pick a side because I think the line, considering Murphy's experience in the featherweight division, proven solid top tier featherweight, plus 155 felt wide for me. And the Bellator PFL narrative is so difficult to break after we watched it happen so many times. After I backed Patchy Mix, after I backed Patricio Pitbull in his debut against Yair, right? One fight too early. But I do think Aaron Pico is the right side, guys. Maybe I'm just an Aaron Pico fanboy, so maybe some bias involved here. But Murphy typically has an athleticism advantage over his opponents, I feel like. And I'm not sure he has that against Pico. You mentioned his Olympic wrestling background. Islam Makhachev, Khabib Nurmagomedov, they talk about how are the Americans ever going to get good enough to hang with the Russians in grappling? What would you do? The joke is send 2-3 years Dagestan and forget, right? They sent Pico 2-3 years to Dagestan and forgot. He wrestled from 16 to 19 in Makhachkala, Russia. This guy's trained with some of the best. He even says, Islam and Khabib are amazing MMA wrestlers, but they're not on the level of the Abdul Rashids and the Gadisovs. He's naming all these other guys. He says that there's a different level. So this guy might actually be the one. Is he the Neo, the prodigy for the Bellator PFL? I don't know, but I just get good vibes here. I think that you talked about his power, Claudia. Holy smokes, that left hook to the body will make you want to run home. His overhand right, he has insane highlight finishes. And no, he has not faced the level of competition that Murphy's fought, but you fight who you get, right? And he's put him away in nasty fashion. So I think there's a chance he shows out and lets everyone know just who Aaron Pico is. So I think this is going to be a good one, man. You got it going the whole way. We'll hope for a Pico decision then.
Yes, I'm fine with that.
It's a tough fight to call, though. And this is even tougher fight to call, Claudia, because it's time for the main event of the evening. The middleweight strap is on the line between two enigmatic fighters, really. And Hamzat Borz Shimaev, dominating, suffocating grappler, versus Dricus Still Knocks Duplessis, a guy who I call the greatest caveman to ever live. So you put these two personas, these two incredible fight styles against each other. How do you see it playing out? What's your best bet?
Oh, man. I went back and forth. So what I'm actually going to do is go back to that alt market. So we go Duplessis to win by decision or Khamzat to win by submission. Again, it's soft, but I actually really like the price here. So that's where we're going to go. Everyone and their mother knows really those are the two most likely outcomes, right? Shimaev takedown attempts are going to come early and often. I have all the stats for you on that because that's going to be part of my best bet. But he is one of the most dangerous early round finishers. All but 2 of his last 7 finishes have come in the first round. He had some knockouts earlier in his career, but 3 of the last 5 have come by submission, the rest by decision. But I don't see a decision in his favor here. So if it does go the distance, then I think that's the way it's going to go. I think if DDP can survive past the first round and a half, then he can win this. That's a big if, Danny, but if he can survive the takedowns, if he can use his cardio, let Chimaev fade out, because it's hard to keep up that grappling pace for 5 rounds. It works so well for him because he can finish guys early, but that's hard to drag out. I think that if DPD can lean into his edge, which is the striking, it's the comfort in those longer fights, he can drag it out. He went all 5 rounds in 2 of his last 3 fights, both against Sean Strickland, went 4 against Israel Adesanya. Those are no schlubs. And then, won by submission in that one against Adesanya. I think that is how he wins this. He has the striking ability. He's landing 6.12 a minute. He's defending 54% of those significant strikes coming his way. And he has that switch stance that give guys hell. And remember, Chimaev, yes, is 8-0, but DPD is 9-0 in less time. Either way, I'm not picking a side. We're going to go with the 2 most likely scenarios, I think, on either side for what feels like a little bit of wiggle room and a good price.
Claudia, from your mouth to God's ears, this one gets over 1.5, because that's going right into my main event. I'm hoping for your second method in this alternate method market that you're looking at. Look, by the way, you call it soft all you want. We're looking to win bets here. You get a good price on the 2 most likely.
I know, but it's not fun. I want to be rooting for somebody.
I feel you. But, it's a cage fight. So if you can find a good price on multiple outcomes, you're playing it the right way. But I like this fight to go deep. I like Dricus to take it long because, like I said, this guy fights like a Neanderthal. You break down fight tape on him, you're going to pick him to lose every single time. It doesn't look good. It doesn't make sense. In fact, he's usually getting hurt before he hurts his opponent worse. But that's just it. You even ask Dricus himself, he'll say things like, Khamzat beats me on paper, but I can't read. How is he going to game plan for me? I don't even know what I'm going to do in there. I think it's kind of playing into the games of Dricus. Yes, maybe he doesn't break down from a technical perspective. Yeah, look how I adapted and made that adjustment. I went 1-1-6-3 takedown. No, it's more like a reptile lizard brain understanding deeply, instinctually what to do when the fight gets nasty. So I think his lizard brain will be studied in a lab. And I think he might be one of those guys that's like, new mythical fighter unlocked, like unchokeable Dricus. We're going to see Khamzat, like you said, pour on an early onslaught. He's going to have to survive that. Khamzat blitzes everybody, and early on, almost nobody can really sustain that. You have to get there, like Burns, like Usman did, to take him into sketchy, close fights where he has been tested. So Dricus has got to be thinking to himself, I got to take it deep if I'm going to beat this guy. I got to see his gas tank. He's never been a full 5 rounds. Is he championship caliber? He hasn't fought in the U.S. in like 3 years. He's been over in the UAE a lot. So how's he going to look on U.S. soil here with the crazy Chicago natives going nuts? I think this one goes deep, and Dricus just tucking the chin or getting face cranked, and he just refuses to get submitted. Like, I think you have to choke him to sleep to put him away, and I just don't see him getting knocked out. So Dricus isn't tapping, and I don't see him going to sleep. And I think this fight goes over 2.5 rounds, and maybe, Claudia, the momentum starts to swing.
And they send his brain to the lab, the lizard brain.
And they win the Nobel.
The best way to put it.
They win the Nobel Prize for whatever they figure out there, because I need to understand. He's amazing. Dricus by falling piano. It's cartoonish the way that he's done it. Dricus by cutting a Khamzat Chimaev shaped silhouette in the octagon and having him run out the side of it. It doesn't make sense, but at this point, he's the reigning defending champion. It doesn't. He's a plus 205 dog. We got to talk more.
I know.
Are the odds too wide, Claudia?
I think so. Yeah, when I first saw it, that's why that was actually just going to be my play. But it always makes me a little nervous if the books haven't adjusted, right? I expected some money to come the other way and shorten that line a bit, but it didn't. So I don't know if the market knows something that I don't, but I don't think it should be that big of a gap. I really don't.
Considering his intangibles. And one thing that I'm feeling a little bit is that sometimes coming off a highlight finish, there's a little inflation on that price tag. You land a spinning wheel kick, everyone's looking for the most incredible finish next. It's not so easy to just replicate that. We're looking at that Khamzat Chimaev jaw crank that crushed Whitaker's teeth. Vicious finish, but Whitaker himself said that his bottom teeth had always been vulnerable. It's like a problem he had since he was a kid. So you tell me if I go in a fight against you, Claudia, and you dislocate my arm, but I told you I had a torn labrum in my shoulder, are we going to look at it the same way? Claudia's power was no, he had an injury going in. So I don't want to take anything away from Chimaev, but I'm feeling like we're paying a little bit of a hype tax because of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, which gives you good value on the other side if you want to.
There you have it. That's how I see it, at least. All right, I might look like a fool, and Chimaev just might wash him inside a round. Speaking of which, you don't want to get washed inside a round when you're betting against the books. You're going to need all the help you can get. You need the SportsLine analysts on your team and need to be a part of the squad. So check it out, guys. Get involved. We got a great promo code for you. Use the code WINNERS if you want to get 60% off your first year of SportsLine. And of course, that includes access to the Discord where you have analysts firing away. You can get their thoughts, up to the minute all the time while live events are going on, whether it be football, combat with me, WNBA. I've been killing it with my guy Calvin Wetzel in the WNBA chat. Love all the stuff that SportsLine has to offer. Use the code WINNERS, get 60% off. And hopefully you're using that to then cash our best bets, which are next up, Claudia. I'm going to leave it with you. We're going with the main event again. What do you got?
Yeah, so in that last bet, right, I talked about if it is a win for Du Plessis, it's going to be by decision. And I think a big reason for that will be being able to get out of those takedowns, which I do think are going to be coming often from Chimaev. So the actual prop I'm going with is over 2.5 takedowns landed at -105. And you've probably seen the stat a million times. Everybody out there that's a UFC fan, Chimaev has 100% takedown defense. He's never been taken down. The one that really stood out to me, though, was the fact that he averages 4.31 takedowns per 15 minutes. He's attempting a takedown every 48 seconds that he's standing. And now you're facing a guy in Du Plessis whose takedown defense is just 50%. And while that is true, I still think he has enough to get out of them to where we'll actually be able to get to this number and he doesn't get submitted too early so that the under doesn't cash. You can look at the stats for Chimaev in his past fights. He had 4 attempts against Whitaker. He landed 2 of them, but he had 12 attempts, Danny, when he faced Usman, and he landed 4 of them. I don't see him changing that approach this time around, especially when you consider sort of the fight script here, knowing Du Plessis can go the distance and make life hard for him in those 4 or 5 rounds. So I think he's going to try to get as many takedowns as he can in there early. So I'll go over there.
I like this bet, especially the way that both of us see this fight is if Dricus is tough enough to last and get him off or get back to his feet after that first takedown. Yeah. Like you said, the stats speak all of it. I mean, if you've ever used your eyes to watch Chimaev fight or you listen to Claudia break down the stats that back it up, this guy is pouring on the grappling attack, chain wrestling. I think he could get him down 3 times in the first 2 minutes, potentially. Exactly. Matt returns, cash this, right? Especially if you want to think that this goes deep. I mean, you potentially do a Khamzat Chimaev takedown ladder. Maybe he takes him down 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and you're getting big plus money. You mentioned the Kamaru. I mean, Kamaru Usman's a damn good wrestler. He took him down 4 times. And Dricus' style is so herky-jerky. He does that odd timing and blitzing. It kind of is a style that could get you taken down. So I'm with you on this play. It makes a lot of sense. -105 for over 2.5 takedowns. I like it, Claudia. My favorite bet on this whole card is going back to the prelims. And I talked about 155-pound Edson Jr. Barbosa. He's putting Jakar close to sleep, man. Give me Barbosa by KO. Like I said, durability and power at 155 are going to be on display. And I just think Close is a weird guy. Neck surgery after was pushed at a weigh-in, then violently finished by Joel Alvarez. Now you fight a Barbosa that trying to show that he's got a little bit more left in the tank, moving up a class. I think he shows that in big fashion. Give me the knockout. Wow, Claudia, this is a damn good show. Any final thoughts at this amazing card? What do we have? I mean,
I just want to know if anybody watching is going in Chicago. I just went to Chicago for the first time last month, and it was really fun. And then I'm sad I didn't plan to go to this because it's such a good card and it's nearby. So if anybody watching is going, you got to let us know how it is.
Yeah, for sure. I know the producer, Ben, on the 1s and 2s is a Chicago native. So perhaps maybe he'll get himself in the mix. Send Ben to 319 CBS.
Do it, CBS. Ben needs to go.
We'll push that for you, Ben. Let's go. But we did the damn thing, Claudia. We covered a lot of great fights on this 319 card. And if you guys are telling us, best of luck. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and lock in with us for every pay-per-view on the Early Edge here preview shows because this is the most fun. This is the most fun sport there is to talk about. On behalf of myself and Claudia Bellofatto and Ben on the 1s and 2s, thanks so much, guys. We'll see you for the next one on the Early Edge. Peace.